you want to start or scale your property development business to 8 figures and beyond, then you're in the right place. This is the Property XPerts Podcast with Ben Richards and Jack Jiggins, two serial entrepreneurs bringing weekly insights from our award-winning businesses. In these podcasts, you'll learn how we found, funded and delivered over £80 million worth of property in the last 6 years, with templates you can use, deal analysis and deep dive discussions that will help you build your businesses successfully. We hope you'll enjoy. Hello. Welcome this week to the Property XPerts Podcast with me, Ben Richards, and Jack Jiggins. We've got a jam-packed week as always, and as you'll see on the screen, the big ticket that we're going to be talking about is some troubles that we're having with one of our assets where we need to evict someone. So it's not something we've done before. So we're going to be talking a little bit about that process and how painful it is for landlords to remove troublesome tenants. Other than that, if you've just joined us, we are serial entrepreneurs. We are property developers in London and the home counties, and these weekly live recordings are effectively the trials and tribulations throughout the week for us. We generally pick 8 to 10 topics that are relevant, that will hopefully resonate with you as property developers, as business owners, and basically share all our highs and lows, share all our issues and how we've overcome them, and hopefully get value from the insights into the inner workings of our businesses. As a property developer, we want to deliver 1,000 homes and £1 billion in property in the UK, collaborating with trusted investors. So if you are a property investor or you want to get into property investment or real estate investment in the UK, do reach out to us because we would love to talk to you. The agenda for the 18th of April 2025, which is today, is first up, Jack's going to be talking about monitoring metrics, how often you should do this, and the insights into some of our businesses. Your businesses should be run off of a dashboard effectively. I'm actually going to be talking about some of those metrics that you should be monitoring. I'm having more fun with building control sign-off at our St Andrew's Court Thame project, and I'm going to be introducing you, if you haven't heard of it or haven't gone through a completed project yet, what Regulation 38 is. It's something new that I've not come across before. So we will be talking about what that is and how it's relevant to you as a property developer. More on metrics, so annualising metrics, and Jack's got some interesting stats from our XP surveys business about how you can track more metrics. This podcast obviously costs us money, so we are going to be talking a little bit about the sponsorship that we're looking for to raise the profile of you, our listeners, and also, this podcast, to share it with as many people as possible. Jack's got some incredible Chrome plugins for people that are looking for sites. This is how he's managed to buy a property every 4 weeks over the last 6 years. And some of these plugins help to streamline that process. We've got a social housing investment that we are going to be running through. Jack is also going to be helping out with some more of that acquisition side of things, and talking about how not to spend too much time on the wrong deal. He's got some nice juicy secrets for you on that. Then we're going to be talking about evictions, and then Jack's also got an update on his Caversham flip, which he's doing in Central Suite. So lots of stuff to get stuck into. Let's crack on. Monitoring metrics. What have you got for us?
Yes, this actually spurred on because sometimes I act as non-exec for the wife and her business. We keep it that way because we realize that partnership isn't the way to go when you're already in partnership in a different context. So I sort of dive in and help where Kelly needs help. And this sort of spurred on how a business should be monitored and measured and improved, because every business is completely different. And I've got 3 businesses to share with you. Well, actually more than 3, but 3 examples of how we share our basically monitor our businesses. So to start off, you can obviously monitor numbers daily, weekly, or monthly. I pretty much don't believe there's any form of business that's annually. You may get an investment that's annually, like some form of like pension stock or stocks and shares, but literally everything should really be monitored much more frequently. Financially, we're talking about, and also metrics in the business. So my good friend Johnny, who runs his own Amazon FBA selling business, so he's in retail, he's on online retail, he will monitor his performance daily. So he has a target of about 2,000 to 2,500 packages per day. He's got to have the stock in, he's got to sell the stock, he's got to post the stock, and he's got to get that out daily. And then it's almost like every day he starts from scratch. So his monitoring and how he looks at his business is his performance daily. I mean, yeah, granted, there might be people out there saying we monitor our day hourly, and that might be true if you're some sort of trader. But we're just generally talking here about business ownership. So that's how Johnny measures his business performance. Obviously, there's things that then that daily performance impacts his monthly or weekly review as well. So it feeds into that. So things that he might be looking at is stock levels, purchase power, sales, how many platforms he's on, how much staff he has, how efficient the staff are, and things like that he's monitoring daily. We wouldn't be that successful monitoring our surveying company daily because there's not really enough meat or transactional wealth to get our teeth stuck into. So we prefer, for an example, to measure XP surveys sort of through the month and then have a monthly review / report. So now, in the contrary of that, is Kelly's business. And my wife's business is a meal prep business. It's based in San Diego. She has an order compile a week, and then the orders go out. So it's a cook and then a dispatch every week. Throughout the week, orders are made, and then it's one execution, one per week. So the easiest way to monitor that is actually with the cycle of the product, which is weekly. So it's very, very similar. It's selling a product to a consumer, but it's very, very different in the way that it's normally a transaction once a week. Therefore, the best way to monitor that is a weekly ratio. So weekly ratios that she would look at is cost per acquisition per customer, value of each basket, how many items are in each basket, what her variable cost per unit is, what her fixed cost per unit is, how many sales she's got, how many recurring sales. But that is a weekly affair that she would then carry out to go about acting on the next week to improve it and tweak it and enhance the month in general, the year in general, but the improvements that are made. So we're constantly taking data and metrics, and then we're working with them. So to give you an idea of why that might be useful for this type of business, and it may relate to you if any of you have got service-based businesses out or product-based businesses, is she may have some months where her variable cost per unit is really high, and that is then diminishing her profit. So she will then look at, actually, why is that? Why are we spending too much per meal? It might be a menu choice. It might be a trend. It might be that actually stock prices have gone up in that supermarket, so they need to now look at wholesalers. So it's acting really quickly and monthly, because what you don't want to happen in that scenario, like Johnny or Kelly's business, is come to the end of the month and then realize the problem, because then you've had 3 weeks of where you could have been earning better margins, improving things. And it's to act on impulse that following week, so that you ensure you embed better movements in your business for the month end. So that's two quite fast-paced businesses, and most of our businesses, so XP Surveys, XP Property, and Central Suites, are more monitored monthly. XP Surveys, I'd kind of say we probably really monitor it every fortnight, but we sort of capture all of that in a month. But we really sort of check in middle of the month, see where we're at, see what's going right, see what's going wrong. Pull things in wrong or right directions, generate more business, or work our asses off to bring the operations down to a manageable level. So I'd sort of say that's sort of between weekly and monthly, but XP Property and Central Suites is monthly reporting. It's too fast to understand anything that the business is trying to tell us. And the way I see it is kind of like a health check on your business. Every week or every month, you're looking at the health of your business. You're looking at various things, and there's tons of things that you can look at in a business that can easily make a business phenomenal or easily kill a business. And one of the biggest killer of businesses is actually the date that a product is paid for and the date that the product is actually delivered. So quite commonly, if you walked into a Tesco's and bought something off the shelf, that is that they get cash there day one. So there's no days lag. But let's say, for example, Ben and I are selling a flat and we've paid a roofing company within 16 days of purchase. We don't get paid for that roof item for another year. So we've got to cash flow that management all the way to the end of that project. So it's kind of nonsensical doing it every week, but we need to make sure we're planning for that. So sort of debtor days and creditor days are really, really important for businesses. And we'd always encourage trying getting as much payment up front so that you're a cash flow positive business where you can be.
Nice. I think just my 2 cents on this, like when you're a digital business, you're going to be way more at the end of the sort of daily and weekly portion. Like if you're in marketing, digital marketing agency, and you've got tens of thousands of pounds that you're managing from an AdSense perspective or a Meta ads perspective, you can't leave that to review every month, because you'll have really, really poorly performing ads that need tweaking every day or every week. And if you did leave it, you would be wasting a lot of money by just running it and leaving it and letting all of those poor performing ads just drain away your budget. So I think I'd say kind of, if you've got a high transactional digital business, you're going to be at the daily, weekly. If you've got a slower, more service-based business, or investment development type business, you're going to be looking at things on a more monthly basis. But useful, I think, for a lot of people to think about.
Completely agree. And I would also say that some businesses are all businesses are all, if you're a daily business, you'll be weekly and monthly and annually monitoring. So there's certain metrics that you can essentially, as an example, a football team winning the Premiership. The daily review might be the person that takes their set pieces as a free kick, doing it over and over again and recording how daily he's improving on that accuracy and that performance. But the end goal of the annual review is actually the bigger part of the business is to win the Premiership. So you can break these down to different KPIs, different tasks, different metrics that you can monitor at different times. So it's not be all and end all, but yeah, I completely agree.
Nice. Cool. Regulation 38. So building control sign off, just to give you an update if you've been tuning in over the last couple of weeks. Fundamentally, we have an agreement from building control to sign things off. If you tuned in last week, you'd have heard about all of the issues that I'm having with my fire engineer speaking to their fire engineer and going back and forth. And it's come to a head now whereby my fire engineer has basically said, no more comments. We've justified this as much as we possibly can, and ultimately, to make a long story short, we've installed a Plumis high pressure auto mist system within the top floor flats, because we've got these galleried landings, which you can see on the screen. In terms of like travel distances and things like that, we had to install a suppression system. So it's a pretty standard off-the-shelf type system. Plumis is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, supplier of that product in the UK, and that's what we've installed. It's been justified. It's been designed and installed by specialists. Blah blah blah. But ultimately, and our fire guy sort of explained in a very good way, is like, I feel like I and the other fire engineer are staring at a Van Gogh painting, and I'm saying, oh, it's blue and yellow. And he's saying, well, it's aquamarine and taupe. It's that type of thing. They're both looking at the same thing, but they're being really pedantic around like the finer detail around sort of some of the justification. But ultimately, we've agreed that we can get partial sign off of the ground floor and first floor flats. So that's 5 of the first 7 flats, and get those signed off, which is great. At least it unlocks selling 2 of our flats, for example. And then the top 2 flats with the auto misc, he's our building control officer just has to go to his director and just have that conversation. But fundamentally, he agrees, and I think they will agree that it's a viable solution that we've installed, even if we haven't done the justification down to the level that they want us to. So yeah, that's good news. I'm not holding my breath until those fire certificates come in. They're due in this afternoon. So hopefully they do. But what I wanted to touch on is the process now to kind of finalize and get sign off. There's regulation 38, which I'll come on to in a minute, but there's also the compliance certification. So effectively nowadays with the Building Safety Act and things like that, you also have to sign a document whereby you as the client, the principal designer, and the principal contractor have to sign a compliance document that says we are satisfied with all of the information that's been provided. We are satisfied with the building, as it stands. We are satisfied with the safety and compliance with, everything that we need to comply with, and basically stamping it, rubber stamping it for building control off to say that, all those 3 parties have agreed that everything has been installed correctly and designed correctly, etc. So that's fine. That's just another step to do. But then there's regulation 38, which is about fire safety information. So again, they wouldn't give us they're not giving us the certificate until we have signed, not signed necessarily, but basically had an email from the responsible person that will be managing that building. So in this case, it's St Andrew's Court, and the managing agent on that building will be XP Property, because we will be retaining the freehold. XP Property and our estate manager will be overseeing the management of that block. So what they require is an email from XP Property, effectively as the freehold managing agent, to acknowledge that they have received all of the fire safety information regarding the building, that we have acknowledged and accepted the information, and that we have saved it and understood that safety information about the building. So until that email was sent over to building control, they were unwilling to push things forward and sign things off. So it's a lot more of a rigorous process nowadays to get building control sign off. It's definitely way harder than it has been in the last 2 years. And this is the new truth. This is the new reality. You've got compliance information from the client, PD, and practical principal contractor, and then you've also got fire safety information that needs to be sent, approved, and understood by the responsible person of that building. There you go. Yes, lots of new nuances, but hopefully that's valuable to you if you are coming to the end of a project. Make sure you're getting all these things lined up before you complete. Cool. And if you need a way of managing your finances within all of your projects, within all of your businesses, Xero is a fantastic accounting software for you to use. And we have a referral bonus for you. So you can get 90% off your first 6 months use of Xero. I guarantee after those 6 months, you won't be going elsewhere anyway, because it's so good. So if you click the description down below, there will be a link to our referral code via Xero. There's a bit.ly link on screen as well, so do make use of that. Cool. Annualising metrics. Go.
Yeah, some more metrics to bring that in. So in light of what we just discussed, these are some example metrics that we look at from an annual perspective in XP surveys. So we monitor the performance monthly, but just to give you a bit of an idea, once you go, right, this month we could have done this better, that better, we could have improved this, we're a bit low on sales, and then you go into the next month, it doesn't really give you a big full picture of where the business is going for business goals and where you're taking the business in general. But also you don't want to lose sight of like the bigger picture, which is the annualized review that you're looking at. And also you want to stay motivated. You want to be positive that you're having month on month growth. So what you can see on the screen there for listeners is we kind of average our revenue per month. We have targets per month. So our target per month is in excess of £40,000. You would see that our average has actually been just over that target. But what is also really interesting is we like to look at monthly growth that we're getting next month and the following month to keep motivation there, because it's difficult to monitor the year-end profitability of a company without looking at it as a standalone on a month-by-month duration. So at the moment, to give you a bit of a perspective on that, our average month to month is almost double what it was last year. It is double what it was in 2022. It is quadruple what it was in 2021. So there's obviously clear growth there. In 2023 and 2024, we sort of had a steady 13% growth in each year, which is quite stable. It's quite difficult to grow a business as it starts to get much bigger. But then this year we've really hit a boost on the sales that we're generating. So we've actually increased it to we're pro-ratering 55% growth on last year, which is crazy, and that's really, really strong. So that's 184 surveys that we did last year. 88 we're already on in the first quarter. And then we look at average deal value because we're trying to bring that value up. And then also revenue per employee is another key metric that we like to monitor. So you can kind of see that even though the team is growing, the revenue is following in suit. So our revenue per employee is currently tracking above what it was last year. And almost what it was the year before, which is a really good sign. So it's almost like those growing pains you have in any company you're monitoring. Every time you bring someone and you're right, we need to build that much more to pay off that particular person. So these are annualized metrics, but we condense them down into pro rata months that you can then monitor as you're going through the year to analyze where the creaks and cracks are in the business. And this is kind of like the sort of epitome of business. There's so many things that you can tweak and turn and change. It's kind of like an engine, and you want to get that really fine tuned and operating as efficiently as it can be to the point where you've got, the most efficient engine you can have. And then you want to sort of build another one alongside it. Well, if that's your business aspirations, but I thought that'd be useful tailing on from the earlier conversation.
Nice. Cool. I mean, if you get value from these podcasts, which We know you do because you tell us. We spend a lot of time doing this. We've been doing it for almost 2.5 years now. I think we're on episode 130 odd ish, and we're here every Friday. We do this for free. We like giving away value. We like the opportunities that it brings. But the opportunity for you guys now listening, if you run a business, if you run a service-based business like we do, if you run a digital business, if you run any business, we would be interested in having you come on as a sponsor within the podcast. So, whether that be an affiliate type sponsorship where effectively, year-long affiliation, or you're just constantly mentioned in every podcast. You've got affiliate mentions on our websites and across our socials, or whether it's just a monthly, 1 month type sponsorship where you just like to sponsor something for a month. We've got an opportunity, got those opportunities for you. If I drop into quickly the sponsorship package that we've pulled together, if you're interested in understanding a little bit more, just let us know. So send an email to info@xpproperty.co.uk, DM Jack or I on any platform that you can find us on, and we will send over this sponsorship proposal. We are, between our businesses, over 50,000 followers across Aura, Central Suites, XP Property, XP Surveys, all of that good stuff, our personal profiles, and the podcast is growing at a very, very rapid rate. So it's a great chance now where we are, I think, on the cusp of kind of that trajectory of really, really kicking things on with this podcast. Is a great chance for you guys to get stuck in and join the affiliation, join the sponsorship now to basically ride the wave of that exponential growth that I think we're going to go on over the next 12 months. So there's pricing for different packages within this sponsorship package, and it's just to highlight that to everyone, let people know that we are looking to bring in sponsorship to take our podcast to the next level and give you guys the opportunity to get your brand, get your name out there to our dedicated sort of viewership, and we'd love to have you on board. So do reach out if you would like the sponsorship proposal document. And on that note, if you do enjoy these podcasts, please rate us on Spotify, please leave a review on Apple. It does go a long way if you just share it with just one person. If you can share it with 2, 3, 10, 20, absolutely brilliant. But just one person would be a really good start. Over to you.
Cool. Extensions, Google Chrome extensions. Sorry for you, Safari. What other ones are there? What other ancient
Edge, Microsoft Edge?
Feel sick already. Chrome all the way. For all of you Chrome users, it's worthwhile you just actually looking at certain things that you do in your sort of daily movements. I mean, obviously set up bookmarks and various things like that, because that good stuff saves you time. But I would also recommend going into the plugins that you can get for your Google extension. So as an example, as someone that works in acquisitions, I actually have Property Tracker and Patma on as an extension on my computer. They're both free. They basically feed into the data of that particular property on Rightmove or Zoopla and tell you the price movement, tell you when it went under offer, and tell you the price changes. So it's just an easy little win for you guys if you are looking at buying properties or whatever it may be. It doesn't cost you anything, and it's quite an efficient way to just sort of see the history of a house. Evidently, if you can see the screen, you can sort of see an example on here. So this is a house that went on the market in August 2024. So what's that, about 9 months ago? And since then, it's had 4 price drops and 2 sales, and 1 sale obviously fell through. So that's just an example of an extension that could be useful. My dog's probably looking at himself in the mirror. Hey, come here. Get him. He looks at himself in the mirror and barks. So I had to interject that. So here's an example of looking at the price history, so that you could actually use this in your armory. So when you're speaking with an estate agent, you know as much as them on the price review, and you're in a slightly stronger position when you're negotiating. So it's free. Give it a go. Have a look what else is on there. I was actually having a little bit of a browse on there with other extensions. There is actually a video on our YouTube channel, which is called, I think it's called something like Around Jack's Desks or Jack's Top 5. I think it actually is called Jack's Top 5 Google extension recommendations. And another one, so Loom have an integrated extension in there, so that's quite useful. Grammarly, if you're dyslexic like me and spell everything wrong, then that's really useful. And then another one that I would recommend is Session Buddy. When your computer crashes, like Ben did earlier today, you just reload all of your tabs that you had open. So it's a really useful one. I mean, Chrome does actually already have that feature, but it makes it a little bit more easy. So you can set up regular tabs to open up. And then if you save it to your Chrome user, you can then set that up on any computer. So you can borrow someone else's computer and set up your standard tabs.
Nice.
Good. That was it.
Sweet. Cool. If those types of tips are for you, we do offer mentoring, one-to-one sort of coaching, where we can come in for 1 hour, 2 hour, 4 hours, whatever you need from us, in terms of helping your business along. It's sort of non-exec business coaching, advisory type thing. We've done it for, I don't know, 50 people over the last couple of years, which we really love doing. So sort of helping out businesses that are, maybe struggling in certain areas. We've been around for 7-8 years now, running all of the businesses that we run, and we've learned a lot. We don't know everything, but I guarantee, we've probably come across the problems that you might be having in your business. So yeah, happy to discuss any sort of business coaching or consultancy if you just reach out to Jack or I, or drop us an email. Cool. On to the social housing investment opportunity. We've spoken about this a few times over the last couple of months, but it's something that we're sort of ramping up in terms of recapitalizing the portfolio or potentially selling it. The market seemed to be moving in a decent direction for this type of stock. It's basically housing that we have bought, we have refurbished to a really good standard, and we have put on 10 plus year leases with a registered provider. So social housing, we get paid the full local housing allowance rate, and they take the building on a full repairing and insuring lease for 10 plus years. So it's long-term income type play, but the portfolio that we have, which is on the screen at the moment, generates about £965,000 per year in rental income. The gross to net ratio is pretty much £965,000 a year, ultimately because the property is taken on an FRI lease and it's just handed over. So realistically, your costs are probably minimal management of that portfolio and some accounting costs for every year. So low risk, low risk portfolio that if somebody's looking to buy income, a fully finished income producing portfolio of assets, this would be an amazing thing to discuss. So if you know anyone looking to get into that sort of level, I guess fundamentally we have various options in terms of recapitalizing, whether it's £1 million, £2 million, £5 million, we can make that work. Or from a purchase perspective, the sales value of this portfolio is circa £16 million. So if that sounds of interest to you or anyone if there are any hedge funds, pension funds, SaaS investment that is looking for this type of income strip, then we'd love to have a chat. So let us know. Cool. And are you spending too much time on the wrong deal? Jack will tell you why you shouldn't be doing that.
This is obviously a bit of a plug for Property Eds. We've done a few sessions on there, run by Tyler now, and this was one that came on yesterday. And I just thought it was a simple tip that I used to talk about at events and people that I was training, but it's kind of one of those things that I do naturally in my head, but wanted to sort of reaffirm and reshare it. And obviously there's loads more to the acquisitions process, but just for you, hopefully this will enable you, if you've got a bunch of deals on your desk, this tip will enable you to pick which one you spend your time on first. So let's just assume you've got 10 deals on your desk, and out of those 10, you're like, right, where do I spend my time? Which deal is the best? It's sometimes difficult to do that without actually going into the detail and reviewing the numbers. So this is just a simple traffic light system or a scoring system. You can kind of make it into whatever you want it to be. And we track 3 metrics. So the way that we do it is we give each metric a scoring out of 5. And it's basically monitoring how well it's marketed, who's the point of contact, and how good is the deal for you and your requirements. So to give you a bit of what I'm going to do is tell you what they mean, and then I'm also then going to give you an example of two deals, and it will rank them, prioritize them one above the other. So the first one is how well is it marketed? The better it's marketed, and if it's everywhere, that gets a lower score because it's reducing your advantage being able to secure that because everyone has got their eyes on it, looking at it. It's a busy market. The worst marketed, i.e. point of contact has just said this deal hasn't gone on the market yet, or it's maybe a residential agent that's advertised it on Rightmove, but it's actually a commercial property, or it's only in the newspaper. Believe it or not, this still happens. That's actually how my parents bought the house. They didn't even hit Rightmove, just in the newspaper. They did a viewing, bought it. Hey presto. So how it's marketed is 0 to 5. The worse it's marketed, the better the score, because the better likelihood you're going to secure the deal. So that's out of 5. Your relationship with the person who's bringing it to you. So we've had successes with deals before where it has been really well marketed, but we've got such a strong relationship with the seller or the agent or whoever, the land source or whoever it is, it actually way improves our position to get that deal. So that's another scoring out of 5. So if you've got a strong relationship or reputation with the person, it's a 5. If it's a weak and you've never met them from Adam, it's a 0. And last but not least, the deal. Now this deal has to be cut from how you want to be buying deals. What deals do you want to be buying? So for XP Property, that would probably be a permitted development scheme with some further value added in the car park, anywhere between sort of 5 and 30 units. That's our sort of sweet spot for a deal. So if it's that type of deal, that'd be a 5 for us. If it's a little flat and it's a bit too small for us, that will be a 0. So now giving you two scenarios of why this might be important is if we, for example, see the best permitted development commercial conversion that we've seen, it's been blasted everywhere. Every agent's on it. Every source has got it. I've had it in my inbox from 6 different people. Believe me, that happens. And every time that email comes in, I go, oh God, waste of time, waste of time, waste of time, waste of time. So if it's been casted all over the internet, so I would give that a 0 for how well it's being marketed and a 0 for relationship, because it's kind of gone all the way around the merry-go-round. But it's a 5 for a deal, so that will get 5. Now I'll give you another example that, I bumped into someone down the pub. They've said, I think my friend's got an end of terrace bit of scope out in the back of the garden. I think you should have a look. That might be 5 because it's not on the open market, and that might be a 5 because the relationship is strong and it's direct to that vendor. The deal might not be a 5 because it might not have the size that we need. It might just be a 1-unit scheme, so I might write that as 0. But the probability and the likelihood of you getting that deal is really high, so it's worthwhile you spending your time on that particular deal. So that's a bit of an example of how you grade it. And I'd recommend that you try and get faster doing that in your own head when you're looking at 5 deals that are on your. So when I've got multiple deals that I need to review, this is the kind of thought process that I go through. Yeah, I really do like that deal, but what is the likelihood of me getting that? It's probably going to be a waste of time. So doing that analysis will hopefully enable you to secure more deals. And what I would recommend is just to think your time is the most important commodity in this process, not that actual deal. Deals will come and go, but how efficient you get at using your time is super, super important. That's pretty much it. And it also obviously links in the description. And if you want to hear more things about acquisitions, let us know and we can share a little bit more information about the property ed stuff.
Nice. Cool. Evictions, to set the scene on this. This is an asset that we bought a while ago. It was one of our social housing properties, but we transitioned from a old housing association to the one that we are with now. But in that process, there were a number of sitting tenants. Those tenants had ASTs, and it wasn't a simple process of kicking them out before the transition happened. So one of those tenants, just to, again, set the scene on the type of person that he is, we've had to call the police out over 50 times. We've got windows smashed. We've got doors smashed. We have, I think, the last time we were on site, there were about 6 people staying in his room. And this is just a 6-unit, HMO, effectively. I think there was a police helicopter and various police cars that had come out a couple of months ago to try and figure out what the hell was going on in the property. He's clearly serving drugs and selling drugs and dealing drugs in and around the area. And the amount of antisocial behaviour that's happened in that property is ridiculous. He's probably cost us the best part of £150,000 over the last year through fixing issues. Through we spent £5,000 a month for a couple of months with a security guard and dog in the property to try and limit the amount of damage that was being done. And ultimately, we couldn't sustain £5,000 a month to try and keep the peace. So ultimately, we had to stop paying that and see what happened, basically. But it's driven out all of the other tenants. We can't re-let any of those rooms. He hasn't paid us for the year, and it's been an absolute nightmare, to be honest. And there's probably an element of we've not understood the process enough to kind of do certain things that we could have done early enough. But fundamentally, where we are now is the process that we should be going through, and it's the Section 21 notice process, which is evictions, basically no fault evictions. Even though from a fault perspective, we could have gone down what's called a Section 8 route, which is effectively breach of contract. So we started going down that route and realised that the tenancy ended after a certain date, and beyond that point, effectively, it was easier to submit a Section 21 notice than it was to go through the Section 8 notice route, which I'm being told by our solicitor that even with those previous, all of that previous history in terms of the police, the antisocial, the break-ins, the drug, like all of that stuff, our solicitor still wasn't comfortable or confident 100% that a judge would see an eviction as being the right route forward. So a Section 21 notice doesn't have any necessary kind of the judge can't take a subjective view on it. It's as long as we've served the right documentation, it's a no fault eviction, basically. So that's the route we've gone through. So because of the transfer of ownership or the early kind of we basically had this sitting tenant when we took back ownership as the landlord. You have to serve a Section 3 and a Section 48 notice, which is to basically notify the tenant that you are the new owner and we're the people that they should be paying and talking to if there's any issues. To do that, you have to re-serve them with things like an EPC, gas safety certificate, EICRs, electrical certificates, also the how to rent guide in terms of how to rent properties. All of those things have to be served, and if you don't serve one of those things, then the notice is a void. If you're found that you didn't submit the right information at the right time, you could go to court after a 6-month process and it get kicked out straight away because you haven't served the right notices or had proof of serving the right notices, for example. That's one ludicrous thing. The Section 21 notice is now something that we've gone down that route. Ultimately, what you do with the Section 21 notice is serve it on the tenants and give them 2 months to move out. So that's what you're doing with the Section 21 notice, saying, here's your notice, we want you out within 2 months. If you don't move out by the end of the 2-month period, we'll have to go down the court route, which is a very, very long process, or can be a very, very long process. I mean, when we were discussing this with our legal representative now, he was sort of saying that you could get an eviction within 5 weeks, but what he said is that actually getting a bailiff on board might take a further 4 to 6 weeks because they're super busy. So that's maybe a 3-month process, and I've heard horror stories of even going through the court process taking 9 months, 12 months, or even longer, depending on the courts and how busy they are and that sort of stuff. So it's an extremely stressful time. We've already lost, like I say, 150 grand. By the time this process ends, we could easily be at 180, 200 grand by the time that happens. And this is again where you have to serve the right things in the right way. If you're serving it in person, you have to have photographic evidence or proof, from a witness showing that you've delivered it by hand. Then you have to go back and sign an N215 form to basically say that you've served this notice on this date, signed by this person, witnessed by this person, etc. So all of these processes are just they're extremely rigid, and a court can throw it out if there's just one thing wrong within the documentation. So you have to make sure you're doing it right, and to do that, you need the right representation. And one thing that I mentioned about earlier was kind of sponsorship. These people don't sponsor the event at all, but this is the type of opportunity where I can put forward the people that we're using to do this for us, and they've been really, really good to date. A guy called Simon from my legal team, they were he was recommended to me by Julie Ford, who's a lovely lady who runs the St Albans Property Network. You'll see her on GB News. She's a very, very influential spokesperson on evictions, landlord tenants acts, and things like that. So yeah, if you want details of Simon, do drop us a message down below. But hopefully that was useful for you in terms of understanding a bit about the process. It's fraught with difficulty. It's a very, very long process, and for a landlord that has, you know, a tenant in situ like we have, that's causing this much stress and this much antisocial behaviour, and costing us hundreds of thousands of pounds. No, it doesn't feel right. You know, that we're giving this person a roof over their head, and you know, it's costing us a huge amount of money and stress. So there you go, bit about evictions. On to more exciting or nicer news. You're having some fun at your Caversham flip. Looks great.
Yeah, so we're today launches the day that we've gone on the market. We were targeting to get it back on the market before the bank holiday Monday, bank holiday came around, for obvious reasons that people might be hopefully sat on the sofa scrolling, but it also is looking like it's going to be pretty good weather. So who knows? But anyway, it was ready, so we've got it on the market. So this was a project that we bought about 10 months ago. We didn't actually really extend it that much. You'll note that there's a little porch on the side. We extended that back to fit a WC on the ground floor, because we removed the WC at the back of the property to open out. You'll see in the top right photo there, if you are watching on YouTube, the big bifold doors that open out onto the garden. So we made the what was the utility toilet and kitchen, an open plan kitchen with nice bifold doors into a little sun trap garden. So it's pretty much back to brick renovation. We re-DPC'd the building retrospectively internally. New roof that was also insulated, loft conversion, new staircase up to the loft, new electrics, new plumbing, new kitchen, new flooring, redecorated, new timber work. Literally everything that you could probably picture or imagine has been done, and hopefully a young starter family or even like mid-level family will be moving into this. It's probably a 12-minute walk to Reading Station, so that puts you like 35 minutes into central London, Paddington. It's a massive 4-bed. It's something like 1,800 square feet, so it's huge.
Can I just ask, because I'm losing touch as to what's virtually staged and what's not. Is this virtually staged?
All of that is virtual, yeah.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah. But it looks like I only know, I think, because I do a lot of it. I do a lot of virtual staging and CGI. I mean, so the fireplace, the kitchen island, and obviously all the white goods in the bathroom are genuinely fixed, but every soft detail, like decorate, even the lights are CGIs as well. You just wouldn't know though, like you just genuinely wouldn't.
You wouldn't. I mean, it's obviously on quite a small screen, so if it was the full high res picture, you might pick up on certain bits, but even as an example, if you look at the bottom middle photo, you can actually see the reflection out of the TV of the artwork. I mean, that's crazy because there's no TV there. It's so good how they do
it. How much did you pay for cheap?
For the CGIs or for the property?
For the virtual staging.
Yeah, it was all the part of the agent's package. So
really? Okay.
Nothing. Fair. So agents. I don't want to say what I'm paying them because we've just told 4 other agents we're not going with them. But it's cheap. It's below 1%. And they did all of that as part of their package. So that was floor plans, professional photos, and then CGIs on the professional photos. And actually, I was quite impressed. We instructed them a week ago, and it's on the market today. So that's not bad for all of
decent.
That. So pleased. But we've got on the market at 650. We're obviously hoping to sell it for that. This is a flip, so intentional suites. Not only do we do HMOs, we also flip houses. This is one of 3 that we've got live. Obviously, the other 2 are still being knocked out and will go on the market later on in the year. But can
you give us high level figures?
Yeah, so we bought for around 350, spent 170 on it in construction, maybe actually a little bit more in construction, actually, including the external landscaping. We bought this with Octane, and they've been really good. Been very impressed with them. Haven't been impressed with building control, but that's another story. So all of that build cost does also include planning, building control, everything. Probably slightly over budget, but we wanted to make sure that we were giving ourselves the best shot to get it sold. Example, the kitchen is quartz worktop. We've actually got 2 fridge, 2 freezers, Bosch appliances. The landscaping around the side is actually lovely. It's kind of like a nice little oasis sun trap. All of the above got nice tiles in there. I mean, it's to a high spec. I would say it's actually probably higher spec than 650, if anything. And we've gone for large board herringbone pattern on the flooring, which I don't know if anyone with a keen eye can see there.
Yeah. Nice.
But yeah, that's
Very
it.
good.
That's
so you should clear 100k on that, really. If not more.
Including finance, in fees and out fees, it should be around sort of 60 to 80, and then we've got a private investor on it, so we'll be splitting that with them.
Nice, good stuff.
Yeah, we target about 10% on GDV on these flips, and get them turned around in a year. That's kind of the rule of thumb.
Nice, cool, good stuff. Well, there's no Q&As that we've got factored in this week. But hopefully there'll be some questions off the back of all the chat that we've gone through in this live session. So I haven't got anything else to run through, Jack. I don't know if you wanted to say anything else before we dart off.
No, have a good long weekend, everyone.
Yeah, and enjoy your Easter break.
Yeah, and if you're like us, maybe tap into a bit of work if you can. Get ahead of the game next week.
That's it. Hustle, hustle, hustle. Cool. Nice one. Enjoy the weekend, everyone. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.